So we're on the it's good to see a few of you back. I've not seen for a bit. So this is actually week 3 of the coastal seas and waves project. So I'm making this the last week. But obviously, if you're still working on projects, feel free to keep going. I think the next, so this first week of September, so the new project will start next week, which is, I think it's glass and reflection. So it's just, I'll check that in the brain, but I'm pretty sure it's glass and reflection. So it's more, could be like reflections in still lives and things like that, or glassware in still lives, or if you wanted to make it something else, like some sort of landscape with glass and reflections, could be that too. How do you want to take that? So I'll have to think about that one by next week. So this week, so this was the one I've been working on the last couple of weeks. So the first session I did a kind of recap or demonstration on gridding images. So I sketched this one out from the gridded image, which was that one. So this was a little coastal scene from Anglesey around the earth. And then I basically underpainted in acrylic. So in a minute I'll do a little bit more work. I'll actually use oils, but you could use acrylics or oils. The other thing is I thought I'll do a little bit on watercolour, because I had a request more in the afternoon for watercolours. So with this one, I thought one way forward is to use masking fluid. So what I've done here is I've got the masking fluid. So I bought a new bottle this week. As my old one wasn't working very well. This one is the Winter & Newton one. It doesn't. The last one I had was a blue one, which is quite handy, but it wasn't working very well outdoors. It sort of melted in the sun, so I thought I'd get a Winter & Newton one. They've always been quite reliable for me. It's a little bit more difficult to see, but you can hopefully just about see there's like a sort of cream colour there. So basically painted this on. I don't put it on too thickly, because I find that that's fine. You don't need it too thick, otherwise it starts wetting the paper, and then when you take it off, it'll pull the fibres of the paper off. I always use a brush that isn't the best of qualities, not like a rubbish brush, but it needs to just, you've got to be careful, it's not one of your best brushes. I tend to dampen the brush first, because the stuff sticks on your brushes very quickly. So if I've got a damp brush, then just dry it a little bit and then go in with masking fluid and then let that dry. Okay, so I'll just paint this little area here in, which is the sea area. I think that brush isn't too big. Let's go further on the slide. So a sort of reasonable size brush and a slightly greeny grey or sort of kind of aqua grey. It's actually a good idea to test the colour out somewhere. So that's right, maybe a little bit more with the cerulean in that. Make that a little bit brighter. So it kind of needs to be dark enough to give me this contrast with the white, but I don't want it overly dark, so I think just a tiny bit lighter. The watercolours are going to dry a little bit lighter anyway. And then I would work from the distance and just work that down. If I go over the rocks, it doesn't particularly matter a great deal, as that area is darker anyway. And what I want to do is have this kind of little bead of colour just at the bottom, so that I keep this wet enough that it doesn't. I get a nice wash on there. So you can start to see now where the masking fluid is that I've put on. So I'm basically reserving the white of the waves. Other than that, if that doesn't work, and I still need some light, I'll then just paint a little bit of white watercolour or white gouache in there. But you can see, reasonable sized brush, nice big puddle of paint. Pop that on quickly before it has a chance to dry, and that's about the limit of where the water is going to be. Now these little bubbles here, I don't particularly want those. It's just set on the fluid, so I'm just going to lift those out, just drying the brush slightly and just lifting any out. So that's kind of the art of it. You get plenty of paint mix, and you should get a nice flat wash or a nice even wash, reasonable size brush. Go bigger if you feel more confident. Then we'll let that dry, and then the masking fluid will come off. But to be honest, if I was doing that as a proper watercolour, I would have done the sky and these, probably worked these bits in first, or certainly done the lightest areas first. So I've probably got to wash over all of this, and then pop the sea wash in, and possibly carry this wash on, but with a different colour onto these sandy colours here, so that I don't get too hard an edge down the bottom there. So it's a little bit of watercolour, that's that one, but I will do a tiny bit more to this one, and this. So I'm swapping the mediums now, let that dry. There, I can keep this. It's all water, so I'll keep the water. The other thing with the masking fluid is I find it's useful to have 2 pots of water, one for your masking fluid brush use, because you don't want this sort of liquid rubber stuff mixed in with your paint. So it's quite a good idea to keep one set of water for masking fluid and another for the paints. Right, so water, mixable oils. If anyone wants to have a go of these, I've got this set somewhere. I've got a set of these. I don't know where they've gone, but close around somewhere there's a set of oils. So this is the point where I just kind of want to develop things with it a little bit and build the colour. Now you could use a medium if you wanted. I'll refine the colour of the sky a little bit because that's a little bit too purple for me. So I just want to grey that down a little bit. And I think just use plenty of paint. Don't be mean with the paint. Put a good amount out. In these plastic boxes, this will keep for quite a while, probably a week or so. So it's worth just getting enough paint out. Just the tiniest bit of water, just to help that that's not too dark. So, yeah, and the nice thing about having the underpainting is that I've got all the tones worked out already. So yeah, that's a bit better, that's more like the tone. Now if I wanted a little bit of that purple, just lilac-y colour shining through, that might be quite nice. It might help just animate the sky. Otherwise it's going to be a little bit flat really, to be honest. So I'm tempted to let some of that pop through a little bit. And then perhaps some slightly lighter bits. Again, just to kind of keep that, just to create a little bit of interest in the sky without it being too bright and breezy. So that could be that bit. And then the rocks. This is a nice sort of underpainted colour here. So really, all I need to do is just give it a little bit more variety. Just go for a slightly smaller brush. And keeping that nicely greyed down. Don't want too much colour there. Just want to kind of keep that pushed into the background. So I'll mix a lilac-y grey, so some crimson, some ultramarine, tiny bit of brown. A little bit of white. And that just provides a little bit of variety, lightening some of that a little bit. That's fine, and I'll keep that darker grey as the shadow areas for the bottom bit there. So that just gives a tiny bit of contrast now, which I quite like. Just lighten it even more if I can. Bring some. Anyway, the lighter I can get that, the further it will push it back. And it will help to give a little bit of contrast around here. I quite like those darks from the acrylic underpainting there, just popping through. Just And then the next bit would be just to get a little bit of the waves in really. Cutter brush, so that could work quite nicely. Nice fresh paint. I don't want it absolutely pure white, so I'm just picking up a little bit of the grey I've used here, and just the tiniest bit of red. So just introducing just a tiny bit of warmth into the waves. Mix a bit more of that. So for me, they're the lightest part of the image. You know, that's definitely lighter than the sky. So, I can then just using the edge of the brush just to touch in a little bit. Just kind of a hint of the waves over here. And actually here they're not quite so bright, so I use this grey over here. Give it a little bit of variety. If I did them all pure white, it would all read a little bit too flat. So if you can go, you know, gradually build up to the lightest tone, make that a little bit darker there, and then just pick a tiny bit of that up. And then I can do the same sort of thing here, just make a start on that. The bluey colour of the sea, I quite like that. Again, I could break it up in the same way I've broken the sky up. I think that's going to be all right. Is that enough? Any questions? Okay, right, so I'm going to crack on, I'll come around the hill.